Adam, let's head over to the Peach State here, and it is a state that you and I have talked about a couple of different times here, where we were wondering if anything was actually ever going to get done over there, and out of nowhere, maybe.
I will tell everyone interested in this story that you have more reason for hope than you have in the past. Does that mean that Georgia is necessarily going to pass? I really don't know. Here's what we do have. Today, recording this on Thursday, as my coffee maker decides to let everybody know that it's not going to be warming that coffee much longer. Yeah,
everybody needs
my
to know
coffee maker
Adam
is so yes.
I was going to say, it's very fancy. Like his coffee maker talks to him. It lets him know what's going on over there. It keeps him in line. It's like, hey, Adam, buddy, wrap it on up. Let's go. Let's get this done.
Yeah, it's Chappelle Show style. Wrap it up. Yeah, it's letting me know that this thing is over. You are not getting warm coffee anymore. That's the sort of urgency that the Georgia House is going to need, because the Senate just this morning passed a sports betting bill, 3515, that would legalize sports betting in Georgia. There is a small catch in that they included the need for this to go to the ballot in November and be ratified by voters. There is a lot of question in Georgia and no real clear answer as to whether or not voters would need to approve sports betting with a constitutional amendment, because there is a prohibition against certain forms of gambling. However, this is being run through the Georgia lottery, and the senator who proposed it believes that the constitutional amendment isn't necessary. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the constitutional amendment will last in the bill, but it's in there now on its way over to the House. There are roughly 2 months left in the session. Here's why I say you don't have a certainty in this thing. The House is where legislation has died in the past when it comes to sports betting in Georgia, and it has been for reasons that have nothing to do with legalizing sports betting. There have been arguments over voting rights. There have been arguments over transgender care and how that is addressed by the state. And what it means is that often you have had a block of Democratic legislators who do not like what is being pitched by the Republican majority in the House, and they basically say, we're not giving you anything if you don't deal with us on these larger issues, because as we talk about all the time on this podcast, sports betting is a small issue when it comes to legislators trying to deal with the business of the people in every state. But the fact that this bill has moved quickly is a really good sign, because the Senate got it done in a month and sent it over to the House with the idea that they will give them 2 months to try to work this out. Industry sources have told our Pat Evans, who's been covering this, that the bill has legs. We believe that it has a much better chance than what we've seen in the past in Georgia. How good of a chance? Probably has to do with a lot of factors that have nothing to do with sports betting.
So, Eric, if we look at the grand scheme of things, I won't include Florida, but I know it's single operator. We'll just say Florida has legalized sports betting. So, outside of Texas and California, would I be off base to say that Georgia would be the biggest fish kind of left out there when we're talking about, not only from a population standpoint, but we know South Carolina doesn't have sports betting. Alabama doesn't have sports betting. You're going to get some spillover from there. We talk about, obviously Georgia football is massive. You have all of the Atlanta pro sports teams. You have the Masters that happens there. I mean, there's a lot of different, huge events that go on as well. Is that off base for me to say that? Am I forgetting a state that is kind of outside of the Texas, California?
Nope, you got it exactly right. It's actually two things that were eye-opening to me going back to the Super Bowl forecast. There's a map in that story in LSR, and there is a hole in the southeast. That's all that's left east of the Mississippi is Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina. We've actually heard that Georgia is the catalyst for South Carolina. Once Georgia goes, South Carolina very likely to follow. And you'd think Alabama's not going to leave itself exposed as the only state in the East without sports betting for too long. And the other thing that surprised me is the projection for Georgia, just running quick napkin math on it. It's going to be a top 10 market comparable to sort of Arizona, maybe number 8, 9 in the country under this implementation. Yeah, everything but hockey currently, 2 PGA Tour events every year, including the Masters. Really an overlooked sports betting market in the industry.
Yeah, you get the You get the Kickoff Classic there for college football. You get the Peach Bowl there.
NASCAR.
NASCAR. I mean, yeah, it's kind of what, like you said, it's like under the radar. Georgia actually holds some pretty big stuff, and with those pro sports teams, of course, the ridiculous college football fan base there with all of that, I think that it could be a really, really big state when it all comes down to it. So I'll be interested in that one.
I will just say, for the first time this year, don't forget election year. That's going to make everything just a little more complicated. It's going to take a little more support, a little more consensus support for these things. So just want to say, for the first time in 2024, we're in an election year, so bills are, just a little tougher to get across the finish line.
Eric, I was trying not to think about that. All right, it's only February. I mean, as if it's like I don't get the commercials 5 times a day as it is anyway, and drive past all the billboards and everything. So, Adam, we can safely say this, though. Nobody is going to be heading to the podium and say, like, why you should vote for me? Because I'm for sports betting.
My name is Joe Biden, and I want you to parlay. This message has been endorsed by Biden for president.
Yeah, not gonna happen is basically what we're saying. It's a small issue, big to us, small to everyone else.